We're happy with whatever time you can give us today.
I can do like 30, 40 minutes, something like that.
Okay.
How's the hair on with this thing, with this piece of hair here? Something's up. What do we do?
That I can't help you with.
Oh, come on. Amy, you're good with hair. What do I do?
I told Leslie she was supposed to send a hair and makeup crew over.
Oh my God. All right,
I said, I've worked with him before. He's very high maintenance. Make sure they're there.
I like that it'll be unsettling for people. And there'll be some of the comments will be, what's up with this hair?
Well, I've already seen 6 in the chat box already.
Good. I hope I never have to answer that question. Anyway, I apologize. Let's begin.
Let's begin. Well, I mean, I probably don't need to introduce you, quite frankly. And a lot of people are really excited about this, Joel, because, I mean, The Simpsons, who doesn't know about The Simpsons? But you don't know? You've never heard this?
I'm curious to hear this as well. I want to know.
I thought we were talking to the guy who owned the department store.
I may. I don't know. I have to check my files. I might.
Okay, so you are an Emmy award-winning writer and producer for The Simpsons, which just so happens to be the longest-running American scripted primetime television series in history, and you have been a instrumental key role in that whole show's success. I can't believe it debuted in 1989, which to the three of us, it just went by like that. I'm sure 1989 was just yesterday, really. You have like over 600 episodes for the show and was named by Time as the greatest TV show in the 20th century. You also were a former writer for Saturday Night Live, Suddenly Susan, and a book that I have just listened to, audiobook, which was How to Lose a Marathon, which congratulations on losing the marathon.
Yes, very tough to do. I almost won it. It was so close, and thank God I lost it. Otherwise, the book would have been a falsehood.
Well, it was very funny. I mean, it goes without saying that, that's your job, but I laughed out loud, literal LOL.
Wow.
I listened to it on audiobook. So it was very, very clever. And I'm never going to run a marathon, particularly because of all of the horrible things that you went through.
I respect that. I'm never going to run another one either because of all the horrible things I went through. So,
but you did it twice, though.
Actually, what may not even be in the book is I did it 2.5 times because after I did New York, I did Chicago, and then I did LA knowing I wasn't going to finish. So I ran 12 miles of LA and then just took an Uber home. The smelliest Uber ride I've ever been in.
I can't even run to the bathroom. So I don't know how you run even a half of a marathon. So
having to go to the bathroom is pretty good motivation. So I believe in you. I think you'll get there.
Maybe one day I'll make it.
Yeah, I hope so.
To the bathroom or to a marathon?
Listen, start small and then dream big.
Little wins. It's the little wins, Leslie.
Exactly. Not making it to the bathroom is a big loss, I would say. That is a pretty bad, depends on your age and station in life, but I believe in you, Leslie.
Okay. I'll pray. I'll pray that one day maybe I'll make it. So we wanted to, your keynote at Amy's event was, of course, it was hilarious. I mean, that's what you do. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Of course, I've fallen in love with your beautiful wife, who is like also a very...
She's not on. She's not on. We're safe. The door's closed.
We can say all sorts of things about Sandy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So Amy has a bunch of questions too, but I'm going to lead off by asking, how did you get involved in comedy? I mean, because I've done a lot of research on you. I've stalked you incessantly now. But you also, I think I read that your brother is sort of helped to introduce you into comedy. So like, is your family just naturally funny, or how did you sort of get into the comedy in the first place?
Well, I wouldn't say my father has passed away, but was very funny. I would say not everyone in my family is funny. I don't think I have to name names, do I, about who's not funny and who is? But my brother is, for sure. And actually, so my brother very bravely / stupidly moved to Los Angeles when he was 18 and just literally worked as a security guard, worked as like a delivery boy, and just really climbed his way up through the ranks and became a comedy writer and is now a director. And I did a little bit of that in Canada. I was doing it in Toronto. And then I also have a business degree. So I got a business job in LA. And I moved here working for Turner Broadcasting in this business job. But then I got here and I realized, this is boring. I'd much rather be doing what my brother is. So he gave me a little bit of help, introduced me to some people, one of which was Kathy Griffin, who maybe people know, the holder of Donald Trump's Ever. Yes, you know her. But she's a very lovely, incredibly funny person and was very generous as well to me. And she started hiring me to write jokes for her for a bunch of award shows. And then she was on the show Suddenly Susan. So she actually got me a job on, or helped endorse me to get a job on Suddenly Susan. I had an agent by that point already, et cetera. And then, so then I was in. Basically, once you're in, and then Suddenly Susan recommended me The Simpsons, and I've been there for 20-something years.
That's fantastic. And when did you kind of get SNL in there as well?
I hate to dispute this. And can you imagine something that the internet is wrong? My brother worked at SNL, but I never worked at SNL. So I would love to, if anyone from SNL is watching and is hiring, I would love to work there, but I have not. And unfortunately, it's just a Wikipedia error to my favor. Usually they go the other way, but that's to my benefit.
It is. I mean, from what I've seen, when I've seen interviews, I think that it's a pretty intense environment. Is it like that at The Simpsons? I mean, you guys have a little bit longer leeway insofar as your deadlines are concerned, though, than a weekly show.
Yeah, a lot of people I work with have worked at Saturday Night Live, and I guess just my take from never having worked there, but from what I hear from them is it's very competitive there because, you know, you've written this one skit, whatever the people are calling it, and you want it to get on the air at the detriment of the other ones. Where at The Simpsons, we are all working on episodes together, and it's a minor, tiny bit competitive about getting a joke or something, but it's collaborative because we all want the show to be good. So I think that's the difference, and it becomes a very sometimes toxic environment for some people at SNL. I've heard.
I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard. Yeah.
I can imagine that, you know, like, because it's, I mean, if you're not being collaborative, which sounds like your environment is a lot more collaborative than it is competitive. And there's like that, so that environment can definitely, it can up level you, or it can really break you too.
I would be broken immediately. I would be just crying in a puddle of my own urine like you. But it you know, there's only, I'll say 90 minutes of airtime on SNL, although I'm sure it's 62 minutes or whatever it is. And they can only have so many slots, and people are fighting for those slots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have questions, Amy? You want to jump in? Because I've got a whole host of different questions.
Is it about this hair?
Well, I
Amy?
was going to ask which season of Saturday Night Live you wrote for, but now we know that never happened. So I got nothing.
I know. Amy did a lot of work in advance. Good work, Amy.
I did.
I do have to ask this one question because my kid will kill me if I don't ask this question, and I don't know if you can shed any light on this, Joel, or not. Is how have the Simpsons been able to predict things that have happened? I mean, that there's like some of them are memes after the fact I've seen, but some of them are really surreal as far as like predictions that have happened.
I know this answer takes a lot of the magic out of what people think, and I always apologize in advance. But what has happened, I always say two things. One is that, yes, by sheer coincidence, we have gotten, let's say, 25 things correct. But if you also look at the show, it's 20 or 33 years, whatever. We have gotten 75 million things wrong. So, of course, there's going to be some things we couldn't even get wrong, and they are correct. But also what usually happens where a lot of these things look like we've predicted something is the show is just often reacting to something. Like there's a thing that says we predicted COVID. And really, when I look at the meme that people are saying that they point to, The Simpsons predicted this, because we had an episode where our newscaster was talking about an Asian flu. But that was like on in 1994 when there was another Asian flu that he was talking about. So it's just the fact that the world is cyclical and we're reacting to stuff. But of course, we've been on so long that you can always find a meme that supports the idea we predicted something. That said, the Donald Trump presidency was a complete, it meant to be a joke, and some may argue turned out to be a joke, but it happened. And there's a few other little weird things that are just coincidences that were correct.
Well, everybody, I think a lot of people think you guys have a crystal ball or some kind of magic wizard that works on staff to predict the future.
No, we have nothing. We have a room full of ice cream and potato chips. That's all we have. Which is
that's
still great.
what I was going to ask you about is what does the writer's room look like on the set? Because I think we who are not involved in the television or film industry always have this perception that it's very glamorous and you drive up on the lot and you have your reserved spot and you take the golf cart over to the studio. But what is it really like?
I mean, I do have a reserved spot, there's a golf cart if I want, but I probably go in it about 6 times a year because there's nowhere to go. But the Simpsons writer room is funny. We have 2 writers' rooms. One is a very cool old building. I think it was Shirley Temple's dressing room in the 1920s, 1930s or something. So it's a very old, yeah, for sure, yeah. And so it's a beautiful old building. This is sort of, I'll say, the bigger writer's room. And it has a grand vaulted ceiling and a big wooden table that could seat 20 people and TV monitors. And we work off a fireplace. We've made s'mores there before. And that one's kind of glamorous. And anytime we have a guest star, they come in and sign these posters we have on the wall. So there's, 20 posters with Wayne Gretzky and Marvin Hamlish and Elon Musk and whoever else, Lady Gaga on the walls. That's the classier room. And then the dumpier room, which has been around a long time also, a building also from the 30s, but it's just this crappy little conference room. There's a table that maybe seats 6 or 7 people. And for years, I think there was a lollipop that Conan O'Brien stuck to the ceiling in like 1991. And then I think around 2005, it fell off finally. So it was just sitting there on the ceiling for, 20, 30 years. And it's just full of, both rooms the table is full of water bottles and potato chips and soda cans. And it's like a bit of a frat house. But anyhow, so one is more glamorous than the other, but it's a fun environment, at least in that case. Yes.
Well, it sounds like it is like a great culture. Can you walk us through how an episode is developed? Like, how do you come up with okay, we're going to focus this episode on Rod and Todd, or like how do you establish what it's going to be about, and then how does it roll out from there?
Sure. I mean, we've done 730 something episodes, so it's almost gotten very difficult to come up with ideas we haven't done before.
Yeah.
But we struggle, and people pitch tons of ideas, like literally sometimes hundreds of ideas. Like, let's just talk about myself. I might pitch 25 ideas each season, hoping to get 1 script or maybe 2 scripts. So finally, I'll pitch something that, Homer swallows the remote control, and every time he scratches his chest, the TV channel changes or something. So that I'll pitch that to our executive producers. They'll say, yeah, that's great. And then you'll go off in another room with 3 or 4 writers and talk through every facet of the story, what's going to happen, where the commercial breaks are. And then the writer that will get credit for it goes and writes the script. That you get 2 weeks to write the script. Then you come back, and then everybody else dumps all over it, talks about why it's not funny, how come the story is stupid, doesn't make sense. And as a group, we rewrite it for about a month. Then we record it with our actors. Then we start the animation process, and that takes 9 months. And then 9 months after starting the table read of their actors, it's on TV and constantly rewritten the entire time and changed the entire time. So a lot of work.
Wow.
Yes.
9 months.
I know. Think what you could do with 9 months.
Yeah.
Do you have to just do, because you're probably working on episode after episode, like do like some of the storylines sort of get jumbled in your brain sometimes, and so far as like, or does it, you're just so used to it now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it, but I do see the glazed eyes of new writers, because not only are we working on the brand new idea that just came in, but we also have the one that's about to air, and we have everything in the middle, and we're probably working on 15 different episodes at a time, and then there's different rooms working on different episodes, and sometimes you have to say, oh, the thing we're doing here, we're actually doing something very similar over there, so we have to change it in one of the rooms. So yeah, it's a mush, and everyone is kind of conscious of it, and we're all used to it and kind of manage it all.
How did the pandemic change things? Like, how did you guys have to start working from home and then do these Skype sort of
It just made everything so much better. No, I hope COVID never ends. It's the best. No, I mean, if you thought the writer's room was a dump, you should see where I'm sitting now. I mean, no potato chips, no ice cream.
Oh yeah, your wife is very healthy. I know that as a nutritionist.
No Shirley Temple pics.
I am the biggest victim of COVID. I don't care about anyone else. I've not even seen ice cream for 18 months. I look it up on Google, and then she comes in the room. I have to change the picture quickly. But no, so yeah, we've been working. We were the very first show, as far as I've heard, to go virtual by like a day. One day, they just said on Monday we're going to be virtual, March 11th or whatever the day was. And we're still here. The beauty of animation, however, as opposed to a lot of live action shows, is that we have never stopped, because everything can be done kind of remotely. we're recording our actors at their homes. They've all built little studios at their homes, and we're very fortunate that we've just not missed a beat, aside from being home and not eating as much as we used to and losing weight and horrible things like that. But anyway, yeah, we've kept on trucking.
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, I know. Sandy's a functional nutritionist, so that must be tough when you're used to eating potato chips and junk food.
No, I stored a lot of junk food in my cheeks, knowing we were going to be going home. But that only lasts for 7 months, and now we're 18 months in. What am I going to do now, right?
Squirrely diggling them out behind,
I pretended to have diabetes just for the sweet insulin. So. That's my workaround.
What about those gels? Those gels from when you were running around?
Yeah. You've heard how highly I talk about those gels in the book. They're the most disgusting products on earth. But I might have some kicking around. I don't even know.
They're tucked into pillows and things just to get
just to get a little. Oh, that's what flavor is. I forgot what flavor was. Let me have some water, not soda.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we who are watching and obviously love The Simpsons, find it hysterically funny, find you hysterically funny. What do you like to watch? What are you watching now, or what are some of your favorite things, either movies or on television, that make you howl?
It's funny, COVID has made us all consume so much more TV or entertainment than we used to in a weird way. No one's presumably going to movie theaters too much, but
I went to
What's that? You went to a movie?
Yeah. A friend of mine from when I was a teenager, Anthony Greco, who lives out in LA, he had a movie debut this week.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to your COVID announcement. No, that's fine. I mean, no, I know people going to movies, and I would go to a movie too if there was something I wanted to see. There's not much I really want to see.
It was a friend's movie. How could you not go and see it?
Of course. 100%. And people, literally, I know tons of people are going to movies.
It's Michael Caine in it.
Bestsellers. It's called Bestsellers.
Yeah, Bestsellers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What have I seen? I can't even remember a lot of stuff. I love this show on Netflix called I Think You Should Leave. I don't know if you've seen that show.
Nope.
It's super crazy. There's 2 seasons. Very, very funny. It's a former writer from Saturday Night Live who does the most crazy, sometimes, very off-color sketches, whatever, but they're really funny. I've been watching that. I've only seen 3 episodes of this new show called The Other Two, which is kind of funny on HBO. I love Seinfeld. I love, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Trying to think of other stuff I've watched over the last 18 months, but there's lots of great stuff out there. Obviously, thankfully, there's lots of great stuff.
Yeah. So much stuff now. Yeah. And what about internally? What is your favorite Simpsons episode, whether you wrote it or not? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, one of my favorites, and partly because of when I experienced it, was my very first day on the job was what we call a color screening, which is watching the episode once it's been animated and it's been painted and is now in color. And as a result, it's almost done. It's probably about a month, maybe 2 months away from airing on TV. So it was the color screening of this episode called Behind the Laughter, which is if you guys remember, VH1 used to have this series called Behind the Music.
Yeah.
So we did a Behind the Laughter, which was basically a documentary pulling back the curtain on The Simpsons, although it was all baloney and made up.
Yeah.
But it was really funny, won an Emmy Award, that episode. And I remember it because not only was it hilarious and this amazing, crazy, funny thing, but then right after my first experience as a writer on the show, we went into the writer's room and I just listened to all these people that I was now working with have these amazing insights about how to make it funnier, how to make it faster, how to make it better. And it's like I had seen this, the Mona Lisa, and all of a sudden 9 painters were talking about how to make it even better.
Wow.
So it was mind blowing, but it still is a great, hilarious episode. And I always talk, that's probably my favorite just for that reason.
Who were the writers who were working on the show when you started?
Well, it was some of the sort of iconic writers that people talk about or maybe know about, like John Swartzwelder, George Meyer, Mike Scully, still working on the show now is a guy named Mike Reese and Al Jean and Matt Selman. And I'm trying to think who else was there back then. But those are some of the names of people that just jump out as really iconic Simpson writers and well worth it. They're well deserved.
When you first started working there, I know we've been sitting in on a lot of webinars and the conferences I run and stuff. Big things, imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about it. It's a big buzzword right now. Was when you first started there, but even though you had the experience on Suddenly Susan and writing for Kathy Griffin, how did you feel going into The Simpsons, which was already so well established when you started?
Just that I thought I was an imposter, or
did you have feelings like that when you started? Oh
yeah,
yeah,
and still do. I'm disappointed in them for not realizing how crappy I am. It's kind of made me think less of it. But no, I always tell people this. My first, honestly, 6 months of the show, I was just so overwhelmed and felt like an imposter. I didn't really pitch any jokes. I was very quiet. And my boss, who was about to become my boss, literally pulled me in his office and said, if you don't start talking, you're fired. And so I just started pitching jokes with abandon. And I would literally keep a little record on my script cover of how many times I said something and how many times everyone else in the room said something, trying to make sure that I was like amongst the most, not quality for sure, but quantity of things said. And then I guess just, when you debase yourself like that and just say stuff with a gun to your head, you start to kind of lose the fear of rejection and maybe settle into a bit of a groove, I hope. And then now I've riding that groove for a while. But yeah, I was overwhelmed and intimidated like crazy.
Yeah, I imagine someone going in to start a job at like Marsh & McLennan or, Canadian Tire, and they think you're working on The Simpsons, like the most popular show in the world. It must have been like, oh.
Well, I would love to work at Canadian Tire. So if anyone out there has any connections, please hook me up. I'd like to be paid in Canadian Tire money, Canadian Tire merch.
Yes. And, they still have the Canadian Tire money,
I heard. I just was in a Canadian Tire. I was in Canada about a month ago, and I went to a Canadian Tire and I bought Canadian Tire baseball hats, which were a huge hit here in LA. Yeah. And I asked for Canadian Tire money, and she said they don't do it because of COVID anymore.
Right. It's all
COVID ruins everything.
I know.
I know. That seemed like a step too far. When you take Sandy McTavish from us.
What is his name?
Sandy McTavish.
Okay. I was just going to ask, what was the guy's name on the money?
And of course,
it's Angus McCheapy, and I was like, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's
it. It's maybe a hate crime against Scottish people, right? I don't know. Let's get into that. Leslie, you're a...
I'll be logging off now, but you two enjoy that.
No, exactly. How do we get someone from Canadian Tire on this chat?
Yeah, well, we'll have to look into that for sure.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. That's what should come out of this. Absolutely.
There's some questions.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Steve Jones, our good friend Steve Jones asks, do the voice actors ever contribute ideas? If so, do they ever end up being used?
No, 100%. Almost all of them have written episodes. Like I know Harry Shearer has. Dan Castellaneta, who does Homer, has probably written 10. Nancy Cartwright, who does Bart and a bunch of characters, did an episode. Hank Azaria, I think, has written one. But yeah, they not only contribute ideas for shows, but a lot of times when we record stuff, they'll just ad-lib something that's super funny and we'll put it in the show. So yes.
Cool.
That must be kind of fun for an actor, though, because if they're allowed to ad-lib a little bit or play a little bit, then just always having to follow line by line too, right?
Yeah, this may sound stupid, but it's about how stupid I was. You really realize the value of a great actor because when you think you've written something great and then it's on the page, it's funny or it's emotional, and then you just hear how it's elevated by an actor that brings emotion to it or a level of comedy to it or nuance that you just could never get. It sounds stupid to say this, but you really appreciate the value of a great actor. So they're all incredibly talented and it's amazing to watch and hear.
One of the things that you said in the keynote, because of course I rewatched it again, but was having the diverse writing team and having sort of diverse perspectives. And now that's a real hot topic, right? Diversity and inclusion. So I think you mentioned that having a diverse team really does help to contribute to the comedy.
Yeah, I talked a little bit a couple of minutes ago about how hard it is to come up with new ideas, and inevitably, and probably the best result is when we draw ideas out of our own lives, because it connects with the audience and they can probably have a similar experience. but of course, our lives are like a little limited, or mine is. So it's nice to have this diversity amongst our staff of not just gender and age, but also background and education and all these other things, because that just gives us this bigger pool to kind of draw ideas from. And you see the benefit of it. I mean, if you had all, whatever, 40-year-old white dudes, you'd get a very similar type of story, where by expanding it, you get a lot more interesting stories. And we have hopefully a range of characters on the show as well that we can slot them into. So it's a real boon.
And the Canadians are naturally funnier, right? That's just...
Oh my God. Look at Canadian Tire again. Who would have come up with Sandy McTavish except a Canadian? Yeah.
Are there many Canadians on the writing team there?
There is myself. There's a guy named Tim Long, who's from Exeter, Ontario. And then we have another guy named Jeff Westbrook, who's actually from Calgary as well.
Wow.
But not Canadian, if you can imagine. He lived his whole life in Calgary until he moved to LA, and was an American citizen the entire time.
Really?
Yes. Are you thinking traitor? I am. Spy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Spy? He would be a crappy spy, I'll say that. But he could be. He still could be. I don't know.
Years ago when I was in college, I was having drinks down in the beach in Toronto, and some friends joined us, and there was a woman who was part of their party, and her name was Amber Dempsey. And I guess she knew one of the writers on The Simpsons at the time. And we're going back to I was still in college, so 95, 96. So I guess there was probably someone who worked on the show at the time who knew her and thought she was really cute and named a character on The Simpsons after her. I made her show me her ID, because Amber Dempsey was a beauty contestant that Bart was in love with.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we've... it's happened a lot. We borrow names from real life. There's a famous character on the show, Professor John Frink, who, when they were coming up with the name, one of the writers was like, I have a friend whose name is John Frink, and let's use his name. And then they not only use the name, but then have since hired that writer, and he's been there longer than I have. So we have the writer John Frink and the character John Frink.
Oh, that's
and that's
hilarious.
happened a bunch of times. For the first time this year, I actually there's a character called Old Joel on The Simpsons coming up in about a month. And,
Old Joel.
Just set your DVRs now.
And is it sort of loosely based on you?
It looks like me, and sometimes I enjoy gambling on things at the office, football pools, etc. So he's playing cribbage with Grandpa, and then they had to he breathes in with an oxygen tank and then out. And they invited me to come in and record the breath. So I had my first experience last week of recording my voice for the very first time on the show. So
that's awesome.
If you love breathing, watch The Simpsons in a month and you'll hear something.
The professional breathing.
I don't know about that.
Old Joel.
It took about 25 minutes to record me breathing in once and out once. That's like, I was talking about actors, how good they are. You can tell how bad they are also.
And now you're paid for it. So you can say you're a professional breather.
Yeah,
I had to. It's true. A lot of phone sex lines have reached out to me.
Is this where we superimpose the phone numbers?
Yeah, the number 1-800 hotline.
We'll add that in post.
Yeah, please.
Call Joel now.
Call Joel now. Joel's waiting by.
Old Joel.
Oops. I'm so lonely for someone to talk to.
He gets paid in ice cream and chips.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Send me an ice cream sandwich and I will talk to you forever.
So you mentioned also in your keynote that creativity isn't like a Tesla that you can just take on auto drive. So you have to find different ways to innovate and iterate and things like that. So I think you've already alluded to that too. It's sort of just taking something and just keep at it and just keep throwing things at, is that sort of how what you meant by that?
I was super drunk when I gave that keynote. I got to be honest. I don't remember most of it.
Okay.
You might remember I fell asleep for about 30 minutes of it.
Well, it wasn't 7:30 in the morning. That was
exactly.
I'm sorry about
Eastern time. I like that people in the chat I can see are pitching phone numbers for phone sex. This has become very productive.
Oh, that's Daniel. That's funny.
Yeah. All right. I don't know, Daniel. Call the number and see what happens. Just start breathing into the phone. What could go wrong? Where were we? Talking about creativity.
Talking about you being drunk at the keynote.
Tesla.
Iteration and innovation. And I would just assume that it just keep getting as ridiculous as possible. Is that what sort of happens? Is you guys just sort of sit around and just get just get silly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if this is what I meant then or now, but a lot of what we do is just momentum, and like someone says something, and then you hear a little nugget in that, and then you say something that spins off of that, and they say something like that, and you pinball it back and forth, and then you'll finally, I always say, get to a place you never would have got to on your own. So it's a lot about, that's why people work in one room, and that's why brainstorming is, the storm is supposed to be us bouncing off each other and building stuff in our minds and mouths. So that's really the benefit of it, is having this diverse group that can just come at it from all these different angles and push something forward until you get somewhere you never thought you might.
The yes and, right, of comedy.
Yeah, yes and, exactly. Yes and.
And so do a lot of this, like, you've never really done, like, so you wrote for Kathy Griffith, but you didn't do any stand-up yourself. You don't like being in front of the show?
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily I don't even know what I'm good at, but that I don't think, what you're bad at. In life, you quickly learn what you're bad at.
Yes.
So I think I figured out it's not something I'm great at. I'm certainly not as good as many amazing people doing it. So I guess I pushed my energy towards something I thought I maybe had a little bit more aptitude for. But no, I've never done it. And I like to imagine writing the whole stand-up routine and, like, fiddling with it and fine-tuning it on paper, but then God forbid I have to go up and deliver it in a tough way.
I mean, we all fell in love with you at the keynote, though, because you were very, very funny. So I guess that, in a way, it's not just a little bit. You have to go for, how long was the keynote?
It felt like forever.
10 minutes.
Yeah. No, 10 good minutes. 10 good minutes.
10 quality, and it's all about quality, not quantity, let's say.
25 minutes of stuttering and patting my brow. I think it was 45 minutes, maybe. I don't know. It was an hour. There you go. So there you go. But yeah, that's a little bit like stand-up, but it's all, pretty well honed material, which I guess stand-up is too. Anyhow,
right? Yeah.
I'm too lazy is what it's coming down to.
I mean, you can't say this now in front of Amy, but do you like doing keynotes? I
do. I actually love it. And it's funny. That's talking about COVID. That's something, of course, that died. Amy, I'm sure you know, it just live conventions and everything just died. And now I find this new wave of virtual conventions is popping up. And I've done speeches in Helsinki and Sweden, and I'm doing one in Toronto next week, and all virtual, of course. But yeah, it's just like, it's funny that the world has adapted this much even to embrace boring keynotes. So,
yes.
But you get to do
one good thing is the reach that you have doing the virtual conferences. There's not a lot I can say that's great about it, but that is one thing about, like, just how you have you can have an audience in Europe and Vancouver and down in, like, Brazil, all in one get together in a chat room and stuff. It's very cool, but I think that's probably about the only plus side that I can.
I don't want to speak. One of the companies I spoke to, I absolutely love. I've worked with this company before, and I love everybody, and I love their products. But they're based in Finland, who I think they won't be offended if I say are not the most vocal laughing.
Oh no,
society. So, and it was at midnight. I recorded it at midnight from this very room. So I'm in my little basement at midnight, speaking by myself into a computer, trying to tell jokes to who I know are just Finnish people who are, like, very funny, sitting across the world. But I thought that was kind of rock bottom of trying to tell jokes. And I've said that to people at the company, but they appreciated it and agreed. But it was all fine.
But like, with a straight face, yes, we agree with you.
Yes, we agree. I literally have had that. I've had experience where I've pitched stuff to them and no reaction, and they go, "That was genius." I'm like, okay.
We are laughing on the inside.
No, they weren't, but they have like an offsite. They take July off. They go to the country. They laugh for the whole year. Then they come back and they just get settled into seriousness. But wonderful people, and I love the company. I saved it, right?
Does your family think you're funny? Like, your kids, do they think you're funny, or they just roll their eyes at you and just?
I think I worry. We've had to tape their eyes down because I thought they'd, like, blow them out from all the eye rolling. My daughters are like slot machines now. We're just what'll it end on? I think reluctantly they might agree that I'm. I try to make their friends laugh because their friends don't have the same, like, dad. So maybe they would force of threat, admit that maybe that's funny, but it's not the first thing out of their mouth. I guarantee that.
They don't usually giggle at things that you say. They're just usually, embarrassed, which is, I think, every parent embarrasses their children.
Yeah, probably. I mean, on text, sometimes I'll get a ha-ha, but it doesn't feel very genuine.
It's a Finnish ha-ha.
Exactly. I've raised 2 Finnish daughters. That's what I've realized now.
Do they have any interest or desire to get into show business?
Not particularly. My one daughter works in the fashion industry, and we were lucky enough she got to design some outfits for the show one time, which was kind of cool for her.
Oh, wow.
An episode I wrote a little while ago. And then my younger daughter's just figuring it out. She's just kind of figured out, but she likes music, so maybe she'll work in the music industry or something. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah, that's cool. The daughter she's still in New York, the one that is
in New York, yeah. Still there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's excellent. What about Amy? Any other questions? Because I've exhausted all my questions here.
No, I know.
And you probably have to bounce soon. Do you, Joel?
Me? I have to be back at work in 15 minutes or so. But if there's something else, I'm happy. I'm here for you guys. You know that.
If anyone in the audience wants to throw out a question, I see like Daniel Wickie's at there, Steve Jones, Coach Vic. That's only who I can see from my end, and lots of people called LinkedIn user.
Yeah. Put your name on it, coward.
Who's been your favorite celebrity voiceover that you've worked with on the show?
Well, we had Wayne Gretzky in. That was pretty cool for me. Being cool. Canadian, that was pretty exciting.
Yep.
Joe Namath. I'm meaning sports ones, but Joe Namath, another one, was really cool.
I love Joe Namath.
No, he was really funny. We had Ted Nugent. Not by any means many things about him I don't agree with, and particularly the story, but he literally was shooting moose from a helicopter and then had to land so he could record on his phone. It's the most Ted Nugent thing you could be doing in the world, was shooting moose from a helicopter. He's like, I just had to land the chopper so he could get on the phone with us and record the one line we gave him. This was probably 5 years ago or something, but that was pretty funny. I met Keith Richards. So some pretty amazing people have come through those doors that I've been able to meet. A lot. I'm lucky enough, just a lot of times we don't even go. Sometimes the soundstage is very callous, but who is it today? We just had The Weeknd is going to be on an episode. Speaking of Canadians, so lots of cool celebrities that have come through the door.
Yeah.
Amazing. Some of them are just incredible. I mean, I think, for some of them, I probably would just die, but I guess there's a lot of people that want to meet them. Like, say, Paul McCartney, I think you've had on the show. Is that right?
That was before I was there, but a lot of people met him, which was great. Yeah.
Yeah. That was there was a story behind that too, wasn't it? That he would do it only if the character of Lisa.
Yeah, it doesn't eat meat. The episode's called Lisa the Vegetarian, and that's where she becomes a vegetarian. And the deal was that she would never eat meat if he did it, and she hasn't. She ate bugs one time. We had an episode where she was eating bugs, but
I remember drinking the water in the It's a Small World ride.
What? Did you just scoop it out of the?
Yeah. One of the sisters, Aunt Selma or Patty, made her.
It was in an episode. It's not recommended.
Laced with LSD or something. It was that's a great episode.
It is not recommended.
So funny. Yeah. I think some of the people actually, there's another question I had, which is having to sort of pivot with, with comedy, invariably, there's always going to be something that's going to be offside. And now with cancel culture, things have had to change and had to pivot. So has that been sort of a struggle? I think we've been more cautious in some stuff we do. We've done episodes about cancel culture too, about, we did an episode about there's a software that can correct all the things you put out on Twitter you wish you hadn't. But also we've had a little bit of our own internal examination about sometimes we had ethnic actors voicing ethnic parts, and we've had to, rightfully so, had to correct that, and we're still sort of mostly working through that, but it's 85% fixed. I don't know if that falls under cancel culture, but at least there's more awareness of doing the right thing. We thought we'd try that for once, so we're trying that now.
Going back. Oh, sorry, Leslie, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with a cartoon, you can get away with a whole lot more than you could with face. I don't know how he described.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, because it doesn't necessarily feel real in a way, but also, Simpsons has been on 33 years, and just if you look at the way entertainment has evolved with cable networks and shows like, not in a great way, but South Park and even Family Guy and even like live action shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm does things that would be mind blowing 20 years ago, and those are just the three obvious ones I mentioned. But there's an audience out there for all sorts of stuff. But we are kind of an iconic thing on this big network, so we try to stay in a bit of a lane.
Yeah, I also I think I read somewhere it also helps that your characters never age too. Like they're always going to be the same age. So,
but as I say, off screen they're aging horribly, as we all are.
If they weren't animated before, they would be now.
Yeah, exactly. If we could afford it. So.
Daniel makes a funny comment here. He said, going back to earlier about the predicting reality thing, he's asking if you guys can manifest some good stuff for 2022.
Come on.
The answer is no.
Oh, come on.
No. Just because of that, I was good at Daniel. Now, because you asked, we're not gonna.
No.
Daniel, thanks.
Thanks, Daniel.
Ruined everything. We might as well go.
Oh, Daniel.
You suck. Daniel.
Oh, man. You're going to third level connection on LinkedIn because of that. Yeah.
Well, I've asked all my questions. Amy, do you have any more questions for Joel, or should we let the?
I could ask Joel questions all day, but I know that his time is.
Maybe I just give him my social security number and we end it there. And my ATM code.
How are your eaves troughs looking these days? By the way, do you need a cleaning?
Yeah,
and your air ducts. You know what? I'll call your 1-800 number here.
Maybe we can do a Groupon, the three of us.
Sounds good to me.
We guys have one good thing come out of this.
Times.
Exactly. Let's do it.
You're Canadian when you're describing what an eaves trough is, and I think they only call them gutters in the States, right?
I don't know. I live in this weird nether world of saying Canadian things to Americans and then saying American things to Canadians. I don't even know who I am anymore. I need to find a third country and just be a complete foreigner there.
Well, we figured out that Finland's probably not the place for you.
Yeah.
So you can really X that off the old.
The Finnish have told me that. Exactly. I've burnt that bridge. I'll keep looking.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Joel. I really
guys.
taking the time to chat with us today. You're going to make me look like such a superstar. I know Amy and I've been so excited to chat with you. So I do really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. So
no, the best part of all of these is the last 3 minutes where I fumble around trying to figure out how to log off of the camera. You put funny music like yakety sax or something as I try to figure it out. But that'll be fun for everybody.
I actually have that on my playlist.
Oh, good. I'll hit it and let's do it.
Hey Google.
Hey Google, exactly.
Yakety sax.
He's doing it.
Okay, Google. Play yakety sax on Spotify.
And I can always just hang up on you too, Joel. That's easy.
No, I know, but this will be fun, right? We got Amy off. We got rid of Amy. It's a win already.
Oh shit! Oh come on! Give it another try. I'll just sing it. I'll play it on my recorder.
Okay. All right. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you. Nice seeing you again.
Thanks so much, Joel. Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.